The City Nature Challenge, just to give an overview of what it is an annual global event which collaboratively records as many wildlife observations as possible. It happens over 4 days every year, and it's usually the weekend after Earth Day. So it's usually the last weekend of April. This year, it falls on the 28th, 29th, 30th, and the 1st of May. So these are the 4 days where we mobilize people, we encourage people to go out and make as many observations. And we make observations using the iNat app, or the iNaturalist app. And so just to give a little bit of history of this challenge, it is run by the community science teams at the California Academy of Sciences and the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. So this has been running, they have been running this since 2016. And this is like the 8th year that it's running. It went international in 2018. And I think due to the pandemic, 2020 to 22, the 3 years where they recorded observations, but they didn't have any winners as such. So the City Nature Challenge has about 3 records or 3 awards. They notice or they categorize 3 things, which is the most number of observations that we make, the most number of species that we can identify, and the most amount of engagement of people, the number of engagement of participants, of observers, are the 3 categories where they take into consideration. So people across the world explore nature in their neighborhoods and in the cities, and they help document wildlife. And every year, we record as many observations of nature of different species and help move this global scientific community and to understand the nature around us. So this helps in multiple ways, and we are very happy that for the very first time, Bangalore is taking part as a city, right? And we actually signed up Bangalore and Bombay as the first 2 cities this year. And then it started a movement thanks to Priya and Vijay. We have 30 plus cities this year in India. And for the first time, India is on the global map for this challenge. So it's going to be very exciting times ahead. And it's going to be really interesting. There's going to be a lot of competition within India as well as the world. We have about 480 plus or 490 cities currently that are taking part globally. And yeah, it's going to be very interesting for us to see how Bangalore will fare. And this is where we need everyone's help. Not just Bangalore, of course, we have people from across India today here. So it'll be good to know what is the biodiversity, the urban biodiversity that we all have within our cities. So today, just to give you a little bit of what are the goals of this challenge, why are we doing this? Why should we even take part in the City Nature Challenge, right? So we have been deliberating about this for the last year, especially from the Naturalist School. And we finally signed up this year. We've been taking part in their training that has been conducted from the California Sciences and the Natural History Museum. And it's been so beautifully organized by them. They give you all the resources that you need. And it just seems like a no-brainer that we should all be taking part in this as a community, as an organization as well from our standpoint of view. And we'd like to see more momentum and more appreciation of nature. We can only conserve what we see if we appreciate what is around us. And most of us can't appreciate it because we don't even have the time, or we don't have the inclination to see what is around us in our communities or in our neighborhoods even. So this is a wonderful opportunity to get mobilize people and connect them to the nature around them, right? So it's just around us that we don't even have to step far away. And just as I mentioned, we started off with 2 cities, now we have 30 cities. So it's helped build a community both online. We have organizers from 30 different cities. We're a part of the WhatsApp group that takes part, that is organizing this in different cities. And of course, we'd really love to meet everyone in person. And especially in Bangalore, we're here. So we'd love to meet all the organizers here, the volunteers, those who are interested, and we'd like to take part in this every year going ahead. These observations also help not just as a community exercise, but these observations help document the biodiversity amongst us. And this can help in what we call citizen science, or how to further citizen management and conservation. So it's something that can bring us data that can help us conserve it, to document it, to notice any changes in our biodiversity over the years. So this is a good starting point for us to all take part in. And this is all done by volunteers. So volunteer documentation. And since we do this globally, it's fantastic to compare what regions have what diversity amongst us. And largely, of course, it's fun to have some friendly competition between us, between all the cities. And we get to do this globally, collaboratively. And that's what's more important for us. And one of our driving forces that we get to collaboratively do this with wherever it says. And like Stalin mentioned, as although the screen shows Bangalore metropolitan region, we are looking at this as a global event where we get to learn from each other and get to partner with different organizations across India and globally, and make this a movement where we can involve our communities, involve our own families in this to observe nature around us. So yeah, that's a bit of a brief of what this challenge is. So a part of this challenge is that we are going to have to use something called the iNaturalist app. Stalin has also shared the links to these apps on the chat. And since most of us will either be volunteers or will be participating, it'll be nice to know how to use this app, and we can help others use it. It's pretty straightforward, and I think it's become far more easier to use from what I hear over the years. And so I have my friend and colleague Stalin, who is here from the Naturalist School as a volunteer, and he will be running us through how to use this. He, in fact, is a master naturalist as from the US. He has participated in this competition twice, in 2017, 18, and when this was in the US, when he was doing his stint in the US. So he has firsthand experience on how to use this app, and he's, of course, got us all on board for this competition. So who better to learn from than from him? So thank you, Stalin, for doing this. And yes, so over to you for the next part of this seminar. Thanks.
Okay. Hey, everyone. Good morning. Firstly, just raise a hand if you have any issues in my audio and or sometime in between. So we had a little challenge. I changed my microphone. This is working better, but even if this gives trouble, just holler. Okay. Thanks, Rashmi, for that introduction. And I really thank all of you for pulling 1 hour from your weekend to attend this particular training. So I will try to be as succinct as possible. And we don't have a lot of different participants. So we will also go through any challenges which each of you have, and then make sure at the end of the presentation, everyone is able to post some observations into iNaturalist and then have a look at what is already there. Okay. So that's a reminder to start recording. We have already recorded. Okay. one step back. So what is citizen science? So citizen science is scientific research conducted with participation from public. So that is essentially there is a collaboration between the professional scientists community and then public who are amateurs or hobbyists. And it is intended to further scientific research or general knowledge production. And it is popular in so many aspects. It's very popular in astronomy, where a lot of folks all around the globe are participating in these deep sky observations. And what happens in citizen science, right? It's essentially there is a well-defined project, and that project connects these professional scientists and the public who are helping. And there is a lot of data being collected or observations being posted. And again, towards the end, another group of people come in, do a lot of analysis and interpretation of data. So why has this gathered a lot of momentum recently is we live right now in a technology age. It's very easy to connect with a wide variety of people all across the globe instantly. And this is a very good way to magnify impact of any such data collection project, because volunteers are interested to do. They are spread geographically, and then it's just the sheer number of people helping with this makes data very diverse and makes these very relevant, especially if policies has to be made out of this. And there has also been a lot of research publications which the scientists who finally access these data do. Okay. And when we say City Nature Challenge, it is a citizen science project, but it is a project in ecology. By that, what we mean is it is to document natural history, and it as a whole, it is towards nature conservation, right? Through better awareness. And um, to these participants, it is a chance to be part of a focused project which will kindle the joy, the sense of joy and belonging to something much bigger than ourselves. So this is what will keep people engaged and motivated to voice for nature, or let's say any cause within their community. And why now? So as we know, there are 17 mega diverse countries. That is, if the biodiversity on any of these countries is lost, then the world as a whole will lose a lot of valuable biodiversity which we share in, and sometimes which is not even known. And if you take India specifically, a bunch of these organisms which we share in our boundary are only present in India. There is a lot of endemism to what is found. For example, um, every year there are like tens of new amphibians being described, and then new species are identified. Sometimes they have not been identified for a couple of 100 years, then they are starting to identify it. And a lot of them are triggered through citizen science, like people going there in a focused amphibian watch and posting pictures. So similarly, it is our chance to go through and capture what we share our country with, and also towards helping ease the pressure on the nature world, or let's say tackling these couple of big problems that our generation are facing: climate change and biodiversity loss. And we are trying to do meaningful help towards these challenges by taking part in these citizen science programs. And there are a few portals which are very relevant to this. iNaturalist is one tool. Many of us would know eBird. eBird is where people go out on a birding walk and then report their finding in a list. And India Biodiversity Portal is one more thing, similar to iNaturalist, but it is created by folks in India, and then it has a lot of observations already in here. So now results from like for example, eBird. Let's say you go on a nature walk and then you post observations. So one cool thing which can happen is towards the end, someone can take these observations reported month on month. And then for a bird which is a migratory bird like Indian pitta, and then we can clearly see towards like how is this migration happen. In the winter, we have all of these birds come up in southwest in the Western Ghats, and then throughout summer, this bird goes back to its summer breeding grounds. And so this is something made not by a dedicated institution. It's just made by observations of citizens, which are collated by someone doing this. And in a serious context, there were more than 1 crore observations on eBird done by 15,000 people, which went into this study. So this was the state of India's birds. It started in 2018. And then for 3 years, they studied all of this data, they analyzed it, and then they released a beautiful summary. And if this is new to some of you, I encourage you to search for it and read through this website. And for example, it goes and talks about some species of concern, and then some species which are doing good. And then are there any trends where different people can help? What can policymakers help? What can researchers help with? And how can public help with? So it has very nice documentation and a few action items for each of us to take. This is made possible only because of citizen science. Another thing where citizen science is very popular and very powerful is these monitoring for invasive species. It can be invasive insects coming in or invasive plants taking over our landscape. And this is something maybe even 100 group of professionals cannot do all across the country. This is where we need like thousands of volunteers and just posting these observations. And here on India Biodiversity Portal, there are 25 species of concern. If you report any of them, it will automatically get clubbed into this particular SPAIS project. So Spotting Alien Invasive Species project. So this is one. And then these are just 2 examples of what citizen science projects are. And now coming back to CNC. So as Rashmi mentioned, it was started in 2016, and it was just a contest between 2 cities. And 2017, when I took part, we had maybe 8 cities which came in, I would say. And then in 2017, from Dallas, Texas, we won the contest on the number of observation. And 2018, it became international. And 2022, these were all the cities which were taking part, like more than 450 people. So what is this? This is just a 4-day focused BioBlitz. When we say BioBlitz, it's to go there to any spot and observe biodiversity. We are not trying to observe only insects or only butterflies or only trees. So it's just to observe everything that is around us. And it is usually done towards spring in many countries. And for us, unfortunately, it is in the middle of summer. And so it is April 28th to May 1st this year. And iNaturalist is the main tool where we go and post this. So on the 1st, we do these observations, and the following 5 days, we do identify what was found. And when we identify it, the value of the data becomes much more useful for the scientists pulling data from here. Okay. So CNC India 2023. So how did India fare through the years? So 2018, there were a couple of cities which had some observations. 2021, we had one in Uttarakhand, and 22, there was one school which participated from Thane. Sorry. And right now, as of now, we have close to 30 cities taking part, and this is a overall distribution of where these projects are right now in iNaturalist. So it's a good opportunity to see how biodiverse each cities are and what are the cool things which are found in different cities. And as you see, city need not be the urban heart of the city. It can also be the entire district around it. So some cities are defined very, very small. Some cities are defined as the district where that city is part of. So firstly, thanks to everyone who is coming and joining this session, because it is with your help we can make this participation meaningful. And we are trying to observe nature wherever we are or wherever we work. And let's say if some of us have close association with school, it is summer vacation time. So it's a fantastic way to collect a bunch of students, go into their school garden, and then maybe post some observations. That's what the Thane school did last year. And as a challenge, personally, these last 2 ones are what I'm keeping for myself, at least post 100 different species that I can find. and then maybe motivate 10 more people to join in and observe with me during the observation period. So what are the necessities of any citizen science project? First is trained public. So that's why we are joining here for. If some of you have taken part in a census, which let's say the forest department does, there are multiple types of census. So it can be a quadrant counting. They have a fixed quadrant and then they count the number of species, specimens they see. Or it can be a transect where you have a transect, go and count the number of butterflies you see when walking on that. So in CNC, this is not as structured. It is just go out and opportunistically observe whatever species you see or whatever organisms you encounter. And the second necessity is a purposeful project, which is the Citizen Science or City Nature Challenge as a project. And when I say the project will have various guidelines or rules how this data will then be taken into a quality check, and then they will generate a lot of inferences or summaries from it. Okay, so towards the end, you get whatever is the intended outcome of the project, and whoever are the audience to share this data with, they get this data. So our part is right now in this first one where we are trying to get as much good data as possible for this project. And then effective tools. Obviously, this is so a big project can be let down without a clean and simple to use tool. This is where iNaturalist comes. And today we will spend some time learning iNaturalist. And so till now, let me know if you have any doubts. And I hope all of you are motivated and interested to take part in City Nature Challenge like we are at the Naturalist School. So let's go through this particular training. I have sent a couple of links to the app, and then if you can download it, please go ahead and download it. So it's a tool to collect and send data to this iNaturalist database. So iNaturalist is a community for nature enthusiasts, and then they just use it to record and observe these these observations into their database, which then can be used by resource managers or researchers or even policymakers in the city. So the person who ran City Nature Challenge in Dallas for us is the employee of the city. So he's the biologist of Dallas City, and then for making his job easy, he needs very valid and relevant observations from the field. So he used this immensely. And if you look at globally on iNaturalist, Sam Kishnik, he is the #2 on the all-time highest number of observations posted. So it's a fun project, and it's an easy one to do. And maybe City Nature Challenge can be the first project you participate in, and then you get hooked onto this wonderful tool and then use it for any nature activities or engagement programs that you come up with later. Okay, so there are two ways in which we can interface with it. One is through the smartphone. It is through the app, which is best because right now our smartphones are our cameras. So you can take a photograph and you can post an observation in it. And there is a second very powerful way, which is through their website. And here is where it is very easy to explore and then filter data. I'll show you both these interfaces. And once you go into this web interface, you can also create a lot of field guides on a specific interest topic that you have, or you can create your own project. Like the community where I am right now has a small project defined around it to post all the wild observations there. And the species with the biggest most observations right now is the Indian cobra. That also shows how curious people are. Whenever they see a snake, they would like to take pictures of it and post it into iNaturalist and then release it in a safe space. So it's nice. And then through that, I have known a couple of people I have become friends with. So it is certainly a very nice community of like-minded people. And so very quickly, yes, Ira.
Had a question, Stalin. So this is about the challenge itself. Are photos clicked before the dates, like before 20th April? Can they be uploaded, or like I have to use my phone on 28th, 29th, 30th, 31st?
Correct. So the challenge is like a filter. So you don't need to go into the challenge, join the challenge. Anyone who is posting an observation that was made in that observation window will get into the project. So if we are observing something today, we are going to post some observations that will not go into the challenge. So so that's the only guideline. So we will only observe it on those 4 days, and that gets counted.
Okay, so if like I saw King Cobra a week ago, I can't upload that photo, right?
You can't upload, or it won't be counted for the City Nature Challenge project, but it is very valid. You can still upload it and it will be there in your observation and people can see it.
Okay.
So, and it's a good practice to also observe, maybe starting today.
Okay, cool.
So for that snake, one example, right? If the moment you post a particular species in one of these pages, you will immediately see where is the same species observed nearby around you. And you would be surprised how many snakes are being observed around us in the city. Anyone else having difficulty finding this app, installing this app? So I know Nayanika, Lavanya, they have this app. Hampreet, Akshay, and Harpal. Have you guys installed this app? Any difficulties?
No difficulties.
Okay.
Still.
Perfect. So let's go to the next one. So the building block of iNaturalist is called an observation. So an observation, let's just spend some time on what is that, because everything is made out of observations. Observation is a record of an encounter with an organism. That doesn't mean it has to be only living, a living or a dead organism. For example, you can see a roadkill when you are going through, let's say, a national park. And that is a very valid observation to document. So that's a dead organism which you are documenting. Or you can see a track. The same way you can see some scat lying around, or you can see a nest material which is near you, or even you can see some feathers of, let's say, a crow which has fallen down on your front yard. So even that is an encounter with it, and that can be an observation. An observation need not be only of wild. So it can be of wild, captive, or cultivated. Like I can have a tomato plant and observe it year on year in my garden. And I can then, so that will be a cultivated. So there are two categories. Wild is the default category. Captive/cultivated is the other category. So if you know that the organism is captive or cultivated, you just put a tick mark in that. And if I'm clicking a tomato plant that I have, I will put it as a captive cultivated. But all the insects that are getting attracted to the tomato plant, or the butterflies that are coming just sitting on it, that will be a wild one, because that you are not growing. Or unless someone has a hobby of raising butterflies, then that can also be a captive or cultivated. So encounter is just that. And what are the few defining qualities for effective observations? So as people interested in nature, we are trying to observe it. So we have a butterfly on a plant, and then what are these qualities? So one is, who is the person observing? Because that is also an important metric some resource managers use. What is it that we have observed? And then when was it observed, the date and time? And do we have any evidence of an observation? If it is an insect, let's say, do we have a photograph of it? And any notes on how big was it? What was it sitting on? For example, if it is a bird, sometimes we can even have a hand-drawn sketch saying, I saw a bird which had a blue beak, and then it had a black tail feathers and all of that. Like any rough sketch, that is also an evidence that is valid. And then very, very important is the location of this observation. This is something which is becoming extremely important because a lot of people want to know where are these species of decline, especially if there is a species in the red list of IUCN, and uh, they want to know where are they being observed. Are they being driven out from their historic grounds? And then if so, why are they coming? So these are all the qualities. And on top of it, where it will help the person observing better is to also pay attention to certain other attributes, like what was the weather like that day, and what was the habitat. If you are seeing a lichen, was it on the east side or west side of a tree? And that will also show how much tolerant to sunlight has it been. And any notes on the behavior, like um, 2 weeks back, Lavanya and a few of us, we observed a fantastic rufous woodpecker, and it was sitting on a wasp or a ant nest, which is built on a tree. So Priya was mentioning, hey, we have only heard that this particular woodpecker has an affinity to nest in that, but she has never seen it, and it was very cool for us to see. And the behavior was, it was very, very quiet, and there was a chick inside, and it was trying to feed it. And so that is a behavior we can put. So these are first-hand experiences, which I call primary experiences, and that's the one which is the most important if you want to spread the cause of conservation. Because when you want to get people hooked onto nature, it is about how you see or what you saw. That's more important on than the number of things which we have seen, where we have seen. Because the primary experience is what will connect people to come along with you and join you on a nature hike. Okay, so observation can have everything. So iNaturalist can record all of this seamlessly, as well as give you space for you to create notes. And you can also have a note for, let's say, 10 observations you did on one day in Lal Bagh. You can have a journal on that also. I hope the observation thing is clear. So how do we post observation? I will spend 1 minute on this, and then I will flash one picture, and we can all try to do an observation on our phones. So the left side is the initial version of the iNaturalist iOS app. And then the right side is a version which you would have seen in Android. So very simply, the first button, so you open the app, and then you can use your Google login to create an iNaturalist account. And once you have created, you are welcome to change your username on iNaturalist or keep it as is. But that is your way to access that iNaturalist database. And then your landing screen will have either a plus button, or it will have a camera icon with observe. So the latest iOS app also has the observe button. So that's the first thing you click. The moment you click it, it will ask do you want to add photos from the library, or do you want to open camera right now to click a photo in front of you? So it'll ask for an evidence. That's the second step it does. And then if you need to give permission, you might have to click yes if it's the first time you're using the app. And then once you have selected those photos, there is a field in which you can say, what did you see? And you can edit it. And then if you know what you saw, you can start typing. Or if the tool already knows what you saw is very close to this one, it will predict a couple of observations, a couple of species. You can select it. And then you can add notes. Time and date is automatically captured because you are using it on the fly. Or even cameras will record the date and time there. And let's say if you are trying to use, like Ira was asking, if there was a king cobra's photo which she has from the past, if that photograph has GPS coordinates, the tool can pull GPS coordinates from that. Or you can search for a location and then set a small boundary around it for that. So that's how you set the location. And then these other ones are all optional. So geo privacy is, if you are trying to observe a lot of species in your particular house and you don't want someone to get the exact location of it, you can obscure it to the city or to the state or to the country. So that's geo privacy. And then if you know if it is captive or cultivated, just tick mark there, because we don't want an incorrect observation go in. And then if you want to put this only on a specific project, you can do it, but these are all optional ones. So when you save or say sync or you say upload, this observation will get uploaded under your user profile. Okay, so the first is that observe or plus button, then add a picture and then type what you saw, and then you can just say save, and then everything else will be taken care on its own. So shall we try this on this one? So I leave this image here. So you can either take a screenshot and then crop it and try to post it as an observation. Or if you are seeing it in your laptop, you can take a photo of this with your smartphone. Or if you already have an photograph of a bird or an insect or a plant, you are welcome to use that also. So take this and then try to post your very first observation. I'm monitoring the chat also, so feel free to ping in the chat. Before this meeting, Rashmi tried to do this, so it worked as expected. So she clicked a picture through the iNaturalist app, and then she had to go and click edit and then click on what you saw, and she said it immediately suggested that this is a black kite.
So it also worked. Well, I took a photo on my gallery right now and tried it, and it shows up as an option to identify it as a kite immediately. So.
Fantastic. Nayanika has posted an observation directly onto iNaturalist. And then this is a very nice picture. It is very well focused. It is also not blurred, and then it has maybe some tips which experts on dragonfly can go and identify. I see these small spots on the wings. I see these couple of appendages in the tail. And then someone has suggested an identification saying it's in this family. These are darners. Complete, put one observation. Let me go to that. So he has posted an observation. So this is a bird in the field.
Indian pond heron.
Looks like a heron, right? So
Yeah,
let's
Indian
say. So let's say as others who are able to see it, so it is being posted. There is a private location. He has obscured the location, which I said is an option, and then there is nothing. It is not added to any project. So let's say we are as observers or his friend, we are trying to identify it. So I'm going to click the tool by default will run these machine learning algorithms and suggest some identification. So it says,
Can I also edit the location later on after uploading too?
yes, you can edit. So all your observations, you can edit it whenever you want, and then you can open it up. Also, let's just say this is type of pond heron, and there are a few pond herons it says, and it says it's visually similar. So it's an Indian pond heron. Nayanika has observed, she has taken a lot of people on bird walks. I will believe that. And then I'm going to say, maybe I will have to, and then if maybe 2 or 3 people start putting up, see on the right, did you just notice the moment it is observed as an Indian pond heron, the tool will say where else are Indian pond herons observed recently, and then you can go.
I also updated the location there.
Okay, yeah. Madiwala Lake. So this is observed in Madiwala Lake now. And then the date, yes, the observation is, there is a date and time for this observation. And so fantastic. So this is done. And later people can come in and do annotations if required. Some people can cluster and then pull data. So very good, Hampreet. Anyone else have difficulties? So this is the first and the straightforward mode. Okay, let me go to how to do this on the website. So very quickly, like I said, the best practices for the photos, it has to be well focused. And then, so essentially we are trying to make, help someone else identify what we have observed. So a well focused photo, and then try to shoot multiple angles and then show scale. If you know roughly how big it is, you can show that. For example, if you want to try to observe a tree, just if you can show the shape of the tree, capture pictures of the leaves, capture picture of the bark, because people can see the texture of the bark, the color of the bark, the type of the leaf, and everything will help towards arriving at a right identification. And these are some notes from people who are like expert identifiers in iNaturalist. And then here, for example, he says that he can't identify it because it's not focused. Yes. And then in this case, this is focused well, but then there is a problem in this. So someone has identified this as a wheel bug, but then the expert entomologist says that this is not a wheel bug because it is a leaf-footed bug. So the rear leg has a leaf shape, which is obscured because of this angle. This is a head-on angle, and then you don't see the leaf shape here. So take multiple angles whenever we can. And at the end, so you can also try to give rough like measurements on how big was it? Was it as big as a coin, or was it as small as a grain of rice? Sometimes if you are taking a picture through a hand lens. Okay. So another quick notes, a lot of you are active in walking out and observing nature. So when we are doing that, we would like that to be our primary goal. It is to immerse ourselves with nature with whatever time we have. And the last thing we want is this one more app which is piggybacking on you in the field and then distracting you. So firstly, it could become a distraction, and then it could also become a safety hazard. So what we recommend is you are very free to just click pictures with your own camera, either a dedicated digital camera or your phones. And then just make sure that if you are clicking on your phone, you are turning on the location. So on Android, camera settings, and turn on this save location option. On iPhone, you have to go through privacy, location services, camera, and then enable a precise location. So if you do that, the GPS location is also documented there. And then once you come back, you can sit and post all of these observations there. And this is what I'm going to show you now. So if I want to post observations on the website, I log into iNaturalist.org, and then I have this upload button, which I click. And once I click upload button, I get this particular screen. and I can click and drag a whole bunch of photos which I have taken, and then drag it and put this. Once I have done that, so it would create this bulk upload of observation. It lists all of these observations together. And then the first thing so these were all pictures from my digital camera. So I was not able to capture a GPS location. So what I said is I clicked select all. So it selected everything. And then in this location field, I went and searched for my community. And then I said, here is the rough location. And these were observed from my balcony. So I had created a small circle around where I think these best represent these observations. And then this geo privacy also, I left it open. So you can obscure it, you can private it, you can leave it open. So I left it open, and all of them were wild. So I didn't do any click of captive or cultivated option. And then after that, so you can go into individual observations. You just click on species name. And once I click on species name, see this one is very easy. This is a red vented bulbul. It has a very dark head and then the telltale tail. And then I have selected that. And for example, what about a babbler? So this was something I learned new yesterday. So it said the tool is very, very clear that it is in the babbler, but then there are two babblers which are seen nearby. So it's a yellow-billed babbler or a jungle babbler. So this is where being in my computer, I'm able to just quickly do a Google. I go to eBird. I found that yellow-billed babblers have this slight texture on them, and then they have a gradient in the tail. The tail is more darker towards the bottom, and then the eyes are more bluish compared to a jungle babbler. So I zoomed in, I clicked into it, and then this was a yellow-billed babbler. So I identified it as a yellow-billed one. And once you posted it, I can also go and look at what other observations are posted in all over India. So let's say I go into iNaturalist, click explore, and then say search for India. So India's boundary is there. These are all the observations which are posted there. And then I go into doing more curation. I go to filter. And in this case, I was interested in amphibians, and then only amphibians which are wild and only amphibians which are threatened. So that filtered these observations, and it's very interesting. We have some in the Northeast Himalayas, some in Uttarakhand, Himachal, and most of it is on Western Ghats, these observations, where we do see a lot of endemic species. And here, and once you click the species tab, you go and you can look at all of this. And now let's click Amboli bush frog. I clicked that. So I come here, and then here is more detail of this particular species that has been observed. And the bottom is the map where all it is observed. And then it shows the seasonality. So this is being observed more in the monsoon season, natural. And then what I like more with this website interface is I can go to about, and then it has pre-populated info from various very reputable websites through which I can study more. And then if I want to look at the taxonomy, it has here, and then the status is also there. This is in 3 different checklists. This is in species of concern in both Asia, India, and Maharashtra. So that's the use of this. And what's the time? We have 6 more minutes. I'll show you one. I'll just quickly say upload so that I show this demo, this interface. So I'm going to drag one observation. So these were all observations of a Malabar pit viper in Chorla Ghats. So all 3 were of the same specimen. So I've dragged 3, and then it is thinking they are all individual observations. So I click and drag them on top of each other. And then this is done. I'm going to show one more where. So this is with my SLR, so I don't have location. I'm going to click one more, which is with my smartphone, which has location. This is one particular mushroom. I've observed the top, the substrate, the bottom, some close-ups. So I'm going to click and drag all of them on top of each other. And so this was in Lalbagh, so the location is already there. So if I click location, you see the location is near the west gate, pretty accurate. So I don't have to do anything there. And then species, I'm just clicking species and it is loading some suggestions. And then it is saying it is a type. So the walk leader said it is a type of Ganoderma, which was more called the artist's shell or artist. So I'm going to say this is a Ganoderma. I will let the experts come and update it. So he said these are artist bracket fungi because you can even scratch or draw something under it. So I'm going to leave it at the genus level. And on the left observation, I need a location. So I'm going to click location. I'm going to search for a location, Chorla Ghat. I know this was in this eco resort, which was to the left. I'm just going to make it a little bigger and then say update observation. And species name. It will again suggest something. So these are pit vipers, and then it is found two options. So either it's a Malabar pit viper or a bamboo pit viper. So we know this is a Malabar pit viper, again, through the expert who was in that walk. And I'm going to and the date and time are already there. I'm going to submit these two observations. So it's as easy as that. So once these are done, you can update it. So I can click this Malabar pit viper observation and click this map, like I said. And you can see all of these observations all along this Western Ghats where I had observed. And then there were more observations in that particular eco resort of that also. So I like doing the observations posting this way because it's much easier. And then I also don't waste a lot of my data or battery while out in the field. Okay. So that's all about the tool. And very quickly, how are we going to tackle this CNC? So we have the observation on this particular April 28th to May 1st. And after that, you can even click photos during this time. Don't spend time uploading, but then you can come back on that week. You can upload all of it and identify it. That is also perfectly fine. So we are looking for people who can help coordinate or maybe conduct nature walks in your own neighborhoods. Or we need experts to join a pool of identifiers to help identify. So if two people post identification, it becomes a research grade. And then, like I said, we don't have to click and upload the same day. So the upload can happen a little later, but within this observation window. Okay. So an action plan for coordinators is figure out if you can plan a few nature walks and then reach out to us, inform where you are doing. We will help, let's say, spread the word through our social media network. And as a coordinator, you would have to introduce iNaturalist to people. It might be new. You can share them this recording. We are going to do a few more trainings on this, so you can encourage them to participate in one of that. You don't have to join the CNC Bangalore or CNC for your particular city, but as a coordinator, it will be good for you to just join it, so you know what's happening there, and reach out for help or support. So here is a link to the Bangalore City Nature Challenge project. So as a participant, again, mark calendar. I would say just start with deciding where you want to observe. So do you want to plan and go on a nature hike? Then go early. This is summer for us, so we don't want people to be exhausted by doing this. Or if you want to just take your family to a favorite city park or a neighborhood, you are welcome to do that. As identifiers, this we will skip over right now. Some ideas. So here is an idea for, so although we can observe both wild and captive. So if you really want to challenge yourself, some easy ideas for observing wild categories is just look at your garden and look at all the pests in your garden, all the insects that are pests/pollinators.
You want to go full screen, Stalin?
Yes. So you can look for them. So those will all be wild. So you can get a lot of observation there. And for example, I am personally planning to, I know the street I walk outside my community has a lot of this giant milkweed. And then I have a lot of insects which frequent that. I'm going to walk and just post observation on every single milkweed along the street. So that could itself give me 30 observations. And then every milkweed, I might have a different species of insect there. Or you can look at invasive plants. So a lot of these construction sites have lantana or parthenium there. Maybe just go and post them. This will be very useful. It could also be a neighborhood birds survey, which is whatever birds you hear or see, you can do that. And mushrooms are an easy way to also get wild observations. But since it is summer, unless you have a rain, maybe a couple of days before or during this time, it's going to be very difficult to see a lot of mushrooms there. But they will always be there if you go close to a stream. So this is some ideas, and then feel free to choose whichever is your one which you want to do, learn more. Okay. So for people who do eBird, there is a very easy way to convert. So you can still do eBird. You can download the checklist, and then checklist will look like the one in the middle, and then convert it into a CSV for uploading it into iNaturalist. So this is something which as naturalist school we can do. So as a coordinator, if you want to take a group of people on a bird walk in Lalbagh, you are very welcome to do it. Do that and then post it on eBird, and then send us this CSV and location where you did this bird walk. We can do this conversion if required and post it into iNaturalist. So this is also very easy and done. That's it for today. So this is a call for volunteers, and then any doubts or any help you need on iNaturalist per se, tag us on social media. We will help out. And as we get closer, we will also have a few bio blitzes we keep around in some cities where as organizers we can get together and meet each other in person.